Good evening, everyone. I don't know about you, but I very rarely used video conferencing platforms before the COVID-19 pandemic. In fact, I had never even heard of the platform we're using tonight, Zoom, before March 2020. Sure, I knew about Skype and had used it a handful of times, but I don't think any of us could have imagined that these platforms would become part of our daily lives overnight. In a very short period of time, the coronavirus pandemic forced millions of people to work, socialize, and learn remotely. And many of us continue to do those things remotely now. There are, of course, many benefits to holding meetings online, though I won't be discussing those today. Instead, I will be focusing on one of the drawbacks of online meetings. I remember distinctly noticing this downside of online meetings as soon as I started logging into online meetings every day. I noticed that after every video call, even a short video call, even just a casual chat with friends, that I felt very tired. Of course, it's not totally unusual to feel tired after long conversations or a lot of social interaction, but this felt disproportionate to the amount of social interaction that I had. I mentioned it to my friends and they agreed that they also felt exhausted after lots of video calls and online meetings. So I decided to look into the reasons why people feel this way. Once I did some research, I learned that this phenomenon is called Zoom fatigue. This refers to the tiredness you feel after spending time on a video conferencing platform such as Zoom, but not exclusively Zoom. It applies to all similar platforms. This evening, I would like to give you 4 reasons why this type of communication makes us feel so tired and give you some tips to try to decrease this fatigue. Firstly, as humans, it is important for us to always understand our surroundings. Our brains are always working hard to collect as much information as possible about our environment. This has always been important for survival. When you're logged into a video call on your computer, though, your brain perceives you as being in 2 rooms. You're in the room that you're physically in, where your body is, for example, in your house, maybe in your bedroom or your kitchen, but you're also in this virtual room where all of the other participants of the conversation are. The brain struggles to perceive either of these rooms properly, and this really increases the cognitive load. Secondly, many of the most important elements of a conversation are missing when we are in an online conversation. And so our brains have to work very hard to try to understand and navigate the conversation. Studies have shown that nonverbal communication, such as body language, gestures, facial expressions, plays a huge role in human interaction. We all naturally interpret nonverbal cues subconsciously. In a video call, we have to work much harder to send and receive signals. This can be seen in the way that we do an exaggerated nod or a thumbs up in online meetings. Our brains struggle to receive this information from others. This increases the cognitive load on our brains, and it can also make us feel more negative about the conversation because we can't receive these positive signals from others. The third reason for Zoom fatigue is that while we lack the body language we need to communicate fully with others, we have really intense eye contact in abundance. In fact, our brains perceive that we are faced with a wall of close-up faces and eyes in front of us. This is, of course, very unnatural. You would never have a conversation in real life where everyone in the conversation has their eyes on you the whole time. In real life, people look around, they look at the person who's speaking, then when they stop speaking, they look at the next person who speaks. But when you're in an online meeting, it feels like all eyes are on you constantly. Finally, when you're using these types of platforms, you can also see yourself. Again, this is very unusual. And in a normal conversation, we are not able to see ourselves. When you can see a reflection of yourself, you are more critical of yourself, and this can further add to negative feelings about the conversation as a whole. It's also very distracting to have to center yourself in the frame constantly and generally keep an eye on what you look like. All of this is very unnatural for the brain and it increases cognitive load. So no wonder we all feel exhausted after video calls. Our brains have to put in so much effort to understand the conversation that we are taking part in. One thing you can do to relieve the pressure on your brain is to avoid multitasking when you're in online meetings. Of course, it's tempting to have another tab open or to check your email inbox while you're in a meeting, but the brain is already doing enough. It doesn't need more work to do. Another tip is to give yourself a camera break where you turn off the camera for a couple of minutes and ideally move around the room if you can. All of this will help you to manage your Zoom fatigue. Before I finish my speech, I would like to say, let's spare a thought now for the remote simultaneous interpreter, including some of you tonight probably. Studies have shown that interpreting simultaneously is one of the most intensive brain activities. Imagine then adding the further cognitive load of having to do it through a video conferencing platform. We really do ask a lot of our brains. Don't forget to give them a break when you log out of your online meetings. Thank you.